Hello everyone, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be an Age of Sigmar video. I get the feeling you're going to get quite sick of Age of Sigmar if you're a 40k purist on this channel, but deal with it. Today we want to be discussing the new General's Handbook, or as my book says, the Manuel du Général, because I'm in France right now. And I know Age of Sigmar reasonably. I'm not very good at it, but I'm learning, and I've got my new Stormcast army, which you may have seen last week, but I don't profess to be a very good general, so I went and got some help. And this person's been on the channel before, conveniently talking about Age of Sigmar and strategic things, and that individual is Moarhammer, or is it still more Wargames, or is it Moarhammer these days?
It is Moarhammer. Technically it's Moarhammer 88, and now I've got to be quite specific about the fact that there's an 88 there, because there's another channel called Moarhammer.
Oh, right, sorry, bad plug. Anyway, so make sure you get the right channel. The link will be in the description, so you can go and check out his content. It's a load of battle reports, mostly AOS. There's been some 40k in there in the past. Yeah, well worth a look, I would say. Anyway, we're not here to talk about particular stuff. We're here to talk about the General's Handbook. So, as someone who had the General's Handbook last year, and comparing it to this one, how much does it change?
It's quite literally game-changing. There's loads that change, the dynamics of the games change, the battle plans that you can play change. The things that stay mainly the same will be, it still references the three ways to play. So you have narrative play, open play, and matched play.
Yep.
Generally speaking, most people, when they're talking about Age of Sigmar, they'll talk about match play, especially with reference to the General's Handbook.
Absolutely.
But it just adds so much more to match play than we've previously had.
Yeah, and as someone who, even in 40k, is much more of a narrative-minded person, the introduction of, or the return, I should say, of Triumph and Treachery, the introduction of sieges to narrative play, there's a lot here for even the, as you might call them, the filthy casuals, the people who don't want to go to tournaments. There is a lot on offer here, which definitely is brand new.
Absolutely.
So I think probably the most interesting place to start is actually at the back. Because at the back of the handbook, there's been some point rebalancing. Oh boy, has there been some point rebalancing. If you are someone who owned the old General's Handbook, the new General's Handbook has basically denoted what's changed by putting a star next to it on the page, or at least it has in my book. And it also lists your new alliances, but primarily it lists the point changes. And the main thing is, I get the feeling that if you were someone who relied on formations, you're screwed. Battalions, you're screwed. You're screwed to Kingdom Come, because, oh dear God. I was calculating for my Vanguard chamber, and the 3 battalions I would need has just added 250 points from the old book to the last.
Yeah, so I think a lot of what you see is the battalions have largely gone up by 100 points.
Yeah, 50 to 100,
yeah. Or somewhere around there across the board, which personally I think is a fantastic move, because now it really forces you to decide if you want to have a low number of drops, extra artifacts, or do you want to put those points into actual units?
Yeah, absolutely, because there's an argument of, I was thinking of why have they done it, and I was thinking the relics aren't worth the extra 100 points that you're taking. I hadn't considered the quicker drop on the board, because honestly, having the ability to decide first turn when double turn is a mechanic is extremely powerful, because the amount of times that my opponent has just dropped the formation, picked to go second, and double turned me is extremely high. It's very frustrating, and when you have no control over it, it does add an extra level to it that I hadn't considered with the whole deployment thing. But yeah, just get used to that.
I found with a game where a lot of armies do rely on Alpha Strike, it's very important to be able to choose to go first if you wish, and then prevent the Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
And vice versa, if you want to Alpha Strike.
Yeah, the main armies that do
first.
Yeah, the main armies that do that would be Stormcast and Seraphon and Demons, right? Because they've got their teleport abilities.
Right, yes. Or just things that are a bit shooty, or Caradron Overlords, for example. They may want to drop down and take out key pieces of synergy and key units before they even have a chance to get their buffs off.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about with my Lord Aquilor, to just teleport him up with the Astral Compass and assassinate a hero and just pick them off, and having the ability to do that.
He can teleport a unit of 6 long strike crossbows behind enemy lines and then just shoot off a character.
Absolutely. The other thing that's also changed is not the reintroduction, but the reworking of the horde mechanic. So you're encouraged now to take units up to large size because you get a points discount. So, for example, I'm looking at the Slanesh page. 10 demonettes costs 100 points. However, if you take 30 demonettes, you pay 270. You get a not insignificant but not game-changing discount on some of your big units if you take them up to max size.
Absolutely. I think this is one of my favourite mechanics in the game. I think that a lot of people are going to jump onto this and think, oh, I'm going to get as much discount as I can by doing as many of these things as I can. But so it's going to be quite interesting to see if we'll just see hordes and hordes of units on the board.
That will be interesting. The one that actually I was thinking about was the Free Peoples, the old Empire.
Yeah.
Because they, along with, I think, zombies, are one of the armies that benefits the most from extremely large unit size. And the only thing that keeps them in check is actually the fact that they have maximum unit size. Because I was looking at them last night, and with their new Allegiance ability, which we'll come on to, they can do some absolutely horrendous things to you, involving hitting and wounding on twos.
Yeah.
And having getting a discount on that not only encourages players to actually play the army the way it's supposed to be played, but also to actually get the benefits of having large units, which sometimes can be a bit expensive to do. So, for example, I don't know, Witch Elves. Actually, do Witch Elves benefit in this one? Yeah, they do. Witch Elves benefit, same way as Demonettes do. So, save 30 points and get rerolls to hit. It's kind of nice. I don't think it will be game-changing. I honestly think you'll see maybe like one unit per army that will do it, unless it's like an army like Zombies or Empire. Because
I totally agree with you. I think people may be jumping on the bandwagon of trying to get as much discount as possible, but I don't think that's going to really be where the game's going to go.
I can see it being tried, but I don't think it's going to stick, I think.
Right.
And more interestingly, in army selection, allies. Can I say this? As an Elven player, this is the best thing. Just, like, okay, I'm going to look at Darkling Covens for a second. This is the original Dark Elves. You've got Dark Shards, Bleak Swords, Dread Spears, Blackguard, Executioners, and Heroes. Notice what you're missing. Chunky, heavy cavalry. Because, call me a bit of a purist, but you can't have an Age of Sigmar army without chunky, heavy cavalry. I'm sorry. Like, maybe it's just the Total War fan in me, or slight Total War fan in me, but you can't not have chunky, heavy cavalry. So having the ability to ally in the Order Serpentis? Yeah, Serpentis. Get Drakespawn Knights and just smash somebody in the face with them is brilliant. And armies like... I don't know, let me think. The Eldritch Council, who've got some really powerful melee units and some magic, well, they just need more infantry and maybe a little bit of cavalry, so they might want to ally in, a good example might be Stormcast. Get some chunky infantry, some fast cavalry out of the Vanguard Chamber. You can now actually properly balance up an army a lot easier, particularly in Order, where your army's so fragmented.
Right, yeah, I agree.
It's not perfect. The way it works is you get 20% of your points basically can be spent on allies, so you have to get to a decent-sized game before you're doing anything of particular note. But...
yeah. But so a standard kind of 2,000-point games, you'll be getting 400 points of allies, and you can do a lot with that if you're efficient with it.
And there's something that went a little bit, I don't know, under the radar. A few units actually got patched from the old armies. So the Dreadlord on Cold One and the Sorceress on Cold One have actually been patched. They're not part of Order Serpentis, but they have been patched and FAQ'd. So there's a chance that some of the old guys are going to make a comeback. Maybe. I just thought I'd point it out. Because the one thing that Order Serpentis is missing is actually a cheap hero, because their only hero is a dragon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want my Cold One Dreadlord back. Anyway, details. Yeah, anything else to add on army selection and point balancing before we move on?
Not especially. I mean, you've hit the major ones. I don't think it's worth going through every major point change, because there are a couple, but the main things are allies and the increase in War Squad battalions. The other thing that might be worth noting is the increase in the number of battle line if choices you now have. Battle line if is something that's where a unit that isn't battle line typically will be made battle line under certain instances. So, for example, Bestigors are now battle line if you have the Brayherd army allegiance.
Yeah, and this actually has been applied to a much broader range of units, because battle line if is not a new concept, but it's been applied a lot wider. So, for example, I go back to my Witch Elves. It used to be that just Witch Elves were battle line if. Now, the Doomfire Warlocks and Sisters of Slaughter have both also gained battle line if. This allows you to not only diversify your army, but specialize, but it doesn't mean you're paying a tax on what you might consider bad troops. Honestly, Darkling Covens, who can take Executioners and Blackguard as battle line if.
Yeah, you can.
You suddenly don't need any basic infantry. I mean, honestly, with their allegiance ability, you really do want that basic infantry, but that's beside the point. You can do it. And that's really good to see. And some armies who didn't actually have battle line, I'm trying to think, Eldritch Council. Swordmasters are their only battle line, but they're battle line if. Which is fine, but just worth noting.
Are the Reavers not battle line?
Illyrian Reavers don't belong in Eldritch Council, they're in Swiftlock Agents. And they are battle line. Shadow Warriors and Lothern Seaguard have gained battle line if. Why are the Lothern Seaguard not battle line basic and the Reavers are battle line if? Details. So yes, the other thing that you'll note, if you are someone who got a very early battle tome, so Fire Slayers, Seraphon, Iron Jaws, Bone Splitters, maybe?
They already had them.
They already had them. You have gained a set of Allegiance abilities, since Allegiance abilities are now a thing, and a bunch of old armies that had nothing have now gained them. Darkling Covens, Dispossessed, Free Peoples, Slanesh, who else have we got here?
Wanderers, Brayherd.
Yeah, Slaves to Darkness, Pestilence, Scryer, Death generally, Flesh Eater Courts, Night Haunt, and Soul Blight, and there's a couple in Destruction as well. Anyway, the point being, if you didn't have Allegiance abilities before and you had a new battle tome, you've got it, and in select cases, you've got one now if you had an old army. And can I just say, as an old fantasy player, these make my heart just go yay. Because the Empire got their detachments back.
Yep, sure did.
I mean, they're terrifying, but they're back.
Oh, they're great. I love them.
So so basically, generally every army that we're talking about here has gained a trait, so like a chapter tactic for those of you who speak 40k. They've gained a set of command traits, which are like warlord traits, and they've gained a set of artifacts. Some of them have gained new command abilities. For example, the Darkling Covens, although that's covered in their Allegiance abilities. And Order, Destruction, Death, and Chaos have also had their generic abilities patched. Just so as you've got slightly new options for those armies as well, if you're having to generalise or whatever.
Yeah.
The big winners?
Big winners? Seraphon, definitely.
Because they were strong enough.
I'm actually not sure they were particularly strong before, but now with their new Allegiance abilities and especially the Allegiance ability, or the battle trait, it makes them really, really good, I think.
Which ones?
Slanesh, I think, is a big winner. I think their choice of battle traits makes them really, really good.
Much more
There's a lot of cool
versatile
stuff they can do now. And possibly Night Haunt.
They're the Crypt Wraith. Not Crypt Wraith.
The Ghosts.
The Ghost faction, yeah. Something you should also note, if you are Fire Slayers, Seraphon, or Iron Jaws, you've also gained 2 battalions, which are like Decurion, so they're battalions of battalions.
Yeah.
So you've gained those as well if you're those exact armies, which is fair, because I mean most of the armies had them. One that I really like the look of, and I think this is something that's a bit, there's more armies that do it, is Flesh Eater Courts. I mean, they're not particularly ludicrous, but it's nice that you have their illusions, and the dwarves have their grudges back, so you can specialise your army again to do whatever you need it to do. For example, if you're fighting a monster army, you can do that. You need a really fast army, you can do that. the armies that have got more flexibility now, which I think is definitely good to see.
Yeah, I think that's one of the major points about having the allegiance abilities. It just gives the extra flexibility. And of the Flesh Eater Courts, the Delusions, I absolutely love them. They're so funny. The fluff behind them is just they have such a great narrative. So it's really good to see some command traits and battle traits that actually align with that as well.
Yeah, I admit, if I hadn't have gone for Stormcast, Fallout Flesh Eater Courts was going to be my next army. I had it all. I remember planning it out once. I was never going to do it because I'm never that good at painting, but it was something that I had in my mind of doing a Feral Ghoul style Flesh Eater Courts army. But so I do quite like them. So there's plenty there. Admittedly, not every army's got one, which is annoying if you're not one of those armies. So if you're an elf player who doesn't exactly... Like, if you're a high elf player, you got nothing. Nothing. But you can't really complain too much. I mean, I think AOS's big stumbling block, and I think it's something that 40k grabbed and ran with, is it just takes too long to get things out the door. Like, this stuff shouldn't be waiting 2 years for. This stuff shouldn't have to take 2 years, but yeah.
I think they learned a lot with 40k from their mistakes with Age of Sigmar.
They did. I definitely agree with that. With the speed that the codices came out the door. So, moving on. Have there always been 5 rules of 1?
There have not always been 5 rules of 1. There's generally been 3 rules of 1 until now.
Yes, there are now 5.
Absolutely.
So the first 3, I believe, are unchained. So you can only cast each spell once per turn.
The second one is slightly modified. It used to be a roll of a 1 to hit, wound, or save always fails. Now they've added a hit, wound, or save of a 6 always succeeds.
Yeah, so you cannot
a roll of 6 to hit or wound, not save, just hit or wound always succeeds.
So that means that you can always do damage, which is good because it means that you can't have any stupid nonsense of, I can't actually touch you.
Right.
Which is lovely. And it says in both cases this applies after rerolls, but before modifiers. So it's natural 6s.
Yes.
Which is interesting because it means that the natural roll being modified is kind of nice, but you can't then... Well, sorry, hang on. Let me get my thought in here. Like, the thing is, on a 6 do something. It means that it's going to trigger twice, in a way, isn't it? Because the way I always used to think of, like, on a 6 do something, let's say it had +1 on, for example. It was on a 5 up do something. And that's how I've always played it, because a 7 isn't a thing.
Yes, that is correct. The point is that if you can only hit on a 6, and a 6 activates something, and you are +1 to hit, but also -1 to hit, then it still activates on the roll of a 6.
Absolutely.
But if you didn't have the +1, you'd still hit on a 6, but you wouldn't activate on a 6.
Yes, that's a very important distinction. My executioners love on a 6 do something.
Yeah.
Oh god, one-shotting Archaon, and then Scarbrand, and then a Keeper of Secrets, and then my opponent resummoning all of them. This was before the General's Handbook, by the way, in case you were wondering. This was when Savage Dominion was still a thing.
Oh, it's still a thing. You can still summon Archaon if you want.
Yeah, but you have to pay for him. This, you didn't.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just saying.
Still a thing. Aye. So the third rule of 1, attacks, hit rolls, and wound rolls that are, like, extra stuff don't go on to generate extra. You can't, as I say, go infinite with anything. Which is nice. The 4th rule, you cannot reroll or modify the roll for turn.
Right. So this is almost exclusively looking at Kairos, at least before the Tzeentch book, but also Skink Star Priests that allowed rerolls to be taken a turn. What's important to note about this one is if there are rules that somehow change how the priority roll is taken, they still work. So, for example, I think it's Neferata's command ability, or maybe the Coven Throne's command ability, allows you to, if you draw the turn roll, you will win it.
Right.
instead of having to re-roll. Additionally, there's one of the ever-chosen battalions that allows you to see the turn roll before it's rolled, and that still applies.
Okay, that's good. See the turn roll before it's rolled.
It's a weird one. So basically, the battalion, if you have Archaon next to a Gaunt Summoner, you can, in your hero phase, you can roll a dice and you keep it a secret from your opponent. If the dice is a 1, 2, or 3, they will get the next turn roll. If it's a 4, 5, or 6, you will get the next turn roll. There is no other priority roll. It's all, you know what it is, your opponent doesn't, and you can play to that advantage.
Ah.
It's really, really cool.
Ow, okay, that's powerful. And the fifth rule of one is you can't duplicate relics, which is common sense. I don't think anyone who played 40k was doing that anyway, I suspect. But
I was sad about this one. This one ruined some of my plans.
The one thing I find weird, actually, I was talking to my friend, and we were talking about like war gear and stuff, and the fact you can give special weapons to unit champions, sort of like the special bows, the special hammers, like that always throws me off. It always catches me. I'm like, why is this a thing?
I mean, it makes sense for the unit champion to have the best equipment.
It does. It just always catches me out. But anyway,
generally you have a special weapons guy, a leader, heavy weapons guy, or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't think anything's changed on the Force Org charts in terms of how much you can take.
No, they're all basically the same.
They're all the same. Interestingly, the War Host, there is no 3,000 points plus Force Org. It's 2,500 plus, which means that technically, if you go higher, you don't it doesn't say 20%. It gives a number, a flat number, which means that you don't actually get to get more allies as your army goes bigger. You're locked at 500, which is something to know.
So what might be worth mentioning about that is if you're looking at pitched battles, this is suggesting you should be playing at 1,000, 2,000 or 2,500. But if you're going any more of that, you're probably starting to veer into open play or narrative play, in which case it doesn't really matter.
Fair point. It's just like my army's built to 3k because 3k to me seems like a nice number as a 40k player to play at. A 3k is like the big army that you use, whereas here it's 2.5. Okay, just something to note. Okay, now we'll work backwards and we'll go through narrative play because narrative play. So glad to see this actually get some stuff. I have a narrative play podcast, so yeah,
I was more than happy to see this as well.
Absolutely, because the one criticism I always had of Age of Sigmar was where's the lore? It never felt like maybe it's just because I wasn't looking hard enough, but it never felt like the lore was there, and I need to retract that statement wholeheartedly. I need to retract that statement and apologise to Age of Sigmar because god damn its lore is actually really bloody good if you actually have the books and read it. Yeah. Sorry AOS. So in terms of for games, we have got rules for the Mortal Realms.
We have. I love these. So these are the Times of War you're talking about, yeah?
Air Guerrier, the Times of War.
Yeah. So the Times of War have always been a thing in all the Realmgate books, and they've been some of my favourite parts of Age of Sigmar. If you just throw in a single sort of D6 table almost into a game, it can really, really make things fun.
And I think that might be why it felt like Age of Sigmar's lore wasn't there, because half of it was locked away in things like God Beasts or...
Yeah, like 8 30-quid books. So.
Yeah, and if this stuff had been in Last General's Handbook, we'd have been all over it. It's just, it always felt there was just something locked away, particularly if you were that used and you just couldn't get it. It was a little annoying. But anyway, not going there. So, you have 7 sets of realm rules. You don't get Azir because Sigmar's too much of a dick to let anybody into Azir to fight. And those of you who are old fantasy players will again start feeling the hint of nostalgia because, well, all the special abilities are named after spells.
Yep, sure are.
So, have they actually changed, or are they all as they were?
In terms of the names?
The rules.
Oh, the rules are brand new.
Oh, they're all new?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of these rules for... At least the only one we may have seen before is Akshi, but I can't say that for sure. But largely all of these are brand new. The previous Times of War have been more about demonstrating an area in a realm. So you might have the frozen wastes of ice kind of thing, as opposed to a specific realm.
Okay, that makes sense. So, I'll run through a couple of them, for example. Let's go for Akshi. So, terrain featured other than certain sorts of terrain are covered in smoke, which means that you can't shoot through them. They're line of sight blocking, which is probably pretty powerful in certain games.
Yeah. It helps a lot when there's lots of shooting.
Definitely. But on the other hand, all wound rolls for shooting attacks with a range of 20 inches or more get +1 to wound. And wizards also get access to Fireball, which is pretty much exactly as it used to be. Casting value of a 5, 18-inch range, do D3 mortal wounds, and then it can scale up. It's exactly the same as it ever was.
I think this is also the same as the Battle Mage's spell.
That would make sense.
Yeah. I think my favourite of these times of war is the Gur one, the Realm of Beasts.
Oh, yeah.
Where both players get to set up a monster near their opponent's territory and they just start going wild. They're not part of the army, they just like to hit things.
Absolutely. It's probably the most, not the hardest, it's probably one of the more interesting ones if you're rolling for it. Rolling that would be like, oh god. Oh god, what do I do now? Although the one I find the most interesting when I was reading it was Ulgu, the Realm of Shadow.
Yeah.
Where you can literally just teleport across the board, but you might die.
It's basically everywhere as a realm gate.
Wanderer's got that as their allegiance ability, if I remember it right.
It did. Yeah, very similar. Which is really cool.
Indeed. So we're not going to run through them all here because they are quite long and all worthy of discussion in their own way. But
I would just recommend anyone who wants to just add a little bit extra layer to their game of Age of Sigmar, just throw a random one of these, roll a dice, grab one, and play it out.
Absolutely.
They don't change the game that much, they just make it a little bit more interesting.
Definitely. I think if you are playing if you're playing Sylvanet, you'll probably benefit from playing in Gyron, but that makes sense because, narrative. If you're playing Death, you'll do well in Shaiish because, narrative. But it is generally just a really nice thing to see. We've got a bunch of new battle plans for specifically narrative play, which is really nice.
So a lot of these battle plans are recycled.
Right.
So I think the key to victory, the Beast Run, Through the Breach, all these are from previous Realm Gate Wars books, but I feel like most people haven't seen them because they haven't bought the Realm Gate books.
Absolutely, and that was the point I was making earlier, that stuff was just locked away. These are all new to me for that reason.
Yeah, and I think you're going to be the vast majority of people in this situation. I've only played these because I managed to get hold of all of them, and I really enjoy them. These battle plans, some of them are just absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure if the one I've played is in here. There's a battle plan I've played before that the game lasted for about 20-30 minutes, a full 2,000-point game. But it was the most tense 30 minutes I've ever had in the game. It was amazing. So I thoroughly recommend, if you want something different to just playing the standard 6 match play battle plans, throw one of these in. Yeah,
they do look really fun. Against the Horde, that one where the armies can just turn on each other.
Yeah.
That looks like so much fun to play. Hard, but very fun to play.
They do a really good job of balancing things. So I was playing a lot of these before points were even a thing in Age of Sigmar, and as long as you play battle plans, the issues there do actually balance out fairly well.
Fair enough. And then, of course, the bit that every 40k player wishes was a thing, Siege Warfare. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. oh, yes. I love seeing this. I'm so happy this is a thing.
I can't wait to play a Siege.
Now, you might have to just help me run through this, because I understand what's going on, but my translation isn't perfect. So, the way it works, as far as I can tell, is that one player gets free reign to set up their deployment zone as they wish, and the rest of the board is set up as normal. And in that deployment zone, they set up a fortress. This can be some buildings, this can be some trees. There's actually a really good example of using a wildwood as a fortress. And it's got to be at least 5 pieces of terrain, I think.
Yes, I think so. 5 to Yeah, 5.
Yep. Yeah, at least 5. And then before the game starts, you get a siege phase. Now, when I read this the first time, I read this and thought this was every turn. It's not.
No.
It's basically a one-use, let's try and screw over the defender turn. And it's an interesting one because I think it is well balanced, but it certainly, at a glance, doesn't look to be. But it is. So the attacker gets 3 stratagems, and they use them all, which I believe read as starving out, collapsing a building, and tunneling in, effectively. Yes. And the defender gets 3 counter stratagems as well. And what will happen is the attacker will pick a preferred stratagem, as will the defender, in secret. They will then compare the 2 and consult a siege table to see what happens. And that will then give a modifier when the actual siege phase begins and different things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're new to Age of Sigmar and new to this sort of thing, it can get a little bit roundabout. But
it's very tricky to explain. Actually, I guess I'd recommend going to read it because they are quite cool. But essentially, depending on which one your opponent's chosen, depending on which ones you've chosen, certain things will happen and affect the game.
Yes. Because all the stratagems do take place, but the modifiers are there. It's probably easier to do once you've played it. Play it once and it will make total sense. It's just reading it is kind of weird. So what will happen is once you've done the table consulting, you'll then use all the stratagems. First one you'll do is you'll try and starve them out. So you'll roll a dice for each defending unit, -1 if it's a hero. On a 5 up, that unit takes D3 mortal wounds. This is potentially crippling. This is dangerously powerful. And you can get a +1 on this. If you pick it as your primary stratagem and the defender doesn't counter it, you get +1, meaning that you can basically do D3 mortal wounds to half your opponent's army, which is powerful.
Yes.
You then have the collapse stratagem, which basically you pick a terrain feature. You roll for every piece of terrain, and on a 5 up, you take away its abilities.
Which is great.
Which is great if you're using terrain rolls. And something that's you've got to remember that's a thing, because the amount of times that I'll do terrain rolls or do terrain and they think, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a thingy, or oh yeah, this. Yeah. It's just remembering that it's a thing.
I've got scenery dice and I always use scenery rules, so that I guess that for me that's quite a big thing. Because if someone's sitting on damn terrain and they've sort of got a big shooting unit that's getting +1 to hit, it's always good to take that out.
It's just remembering it's a thing, which I always forget to do.
Yeah.
And then finally, you've got the tunnel stratagem, which is a bit of an all or nothing. So both players roll off. The defender's dice is unmodified, and the attacker's dice is modified by the table. If the attacker wins, and only if they win, they can take a hero and 2 non-monster units to dig a tunnel and pop out wherever they want, whenever they want, together. Yikes.
That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. It's just like, I think as a defender, you basically always want to take that as your counter stratagem.
Just in case.
Just because at that point they're at -2, and then you'll probably win. Because there's nothing worse than like just, I don't know. What's a good idea? Maybe 5 blood crushers, a herald, and 10 blood letters coming out right next to your face.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like, no, I'm good, thanks. I'm good. And when you look at the table, actually, that's an interesting one because that one has a -2/+2 modifier. And basically, if the defender does not defend against it, the attacker gets +2 if they pick it. Yeah. Which basically means if you aren't countering it, you could get royally, royally screwed. It's just
that's a good point. Actually, I feel like that's one that you should always take.
If you're a defender, it's the safe counter pick. But you might actually want to try and call your opponent's bluff and say, I don't think you're going to do that because you assume I'm going to do that. Therefore, I'm going to do something else and try and counter you. It's a very interesting.
Mind games.
There's a good bit of mind games there, and I appreciate the mind games. Yeah, so that's that. Is there anything else in narrative play? Just a couple of special siege battle plans, which obviously neither of us have played. One of them that looks like the 40k mission Blitz, which I really like the look of.
Yeah.
Because Blitz is a hilarious mission to play. It's bloody hard, but it's a hilarious mission to play. No, I don't talk about balance in narrative play, but yeah, I get the feeling that they are pretty well balanced off individually, and then if you pick the armies well, then they'll probably do pretty well.
Yeah. I think, like I said, it's narrative. You've got to choose armies that go along with that narrative to really make it work. Otherwise, you'll be attacking with a Stormcast gun line, and nobody has any fun.
Yeah, it's just you've got to use a measure of common sense, and that's something that's hard to drill into, particularly the competitive-minded people. Is it's narrative. Please stop scumming.
Yeah.
But details. Yeah, I say that a lot because it's just sometimes I've played with those people and trying to convince them, can you please just not do this spammy thing that you are renowned for doing? Just, oi.
Hey, what's wrong with 27 Skyfires?
Well, to be honest, as a tower player, there's a lot of things wrong with 27 Skyfires, but you know. Anyway, moving back, open
details.
Yeah, details. Moving back, we have open play, and open play, yes. Open play actually is now open play. I think is much more of a thing in Age of Sigmar than it is in 40k because, or it always just has been. I think because open play was kind of what the rules were when it came out, but they've really spread it out and made it optional. So you've got the open war cards, which is great.
Yeah.
Use those in 40k. Very interesting missions. And they also talk about tree campaigns, which is a good thing to do because they are very useful.
Yeah.
And then we get into multiplayer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we've got two sets of these sorts of games. You've got actual proper alliances called mortal coalitions. And then you have the...
It's Coalition of Death.
Oh, Coalition of Death, sorry. And then you have Triumph and Treachery, which is just... Oh, I never played Triumph and Treachery in Fantasy, but it looked like so much damn fun.
I played it once, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. Tonight, in fact, I'm playing either Coalition of Death or Triumph and Treachery. I'm not sure which yet, but either way, I'm looking forward to it.
That will definitely be a very, very interesting game, because, again, like with the sieges, there's so much mind games at work. And actually, there's some fun things in Coalition of Death. I think it was... something that you can only talk to each other if your generals are within 3 inches.
Yeah.
It's just other than that, you've got a special phase at the beginning of the game, at the beginning of the turn, to pass notes.
Yeah.
It's just and the charge phase, you can actually really kind of screw each other over in the charge phase. So it says at the start of the charge phase, before units charge, each player has a couple of minutes to write down which of their units are charging. They have to keep this information secret, even from other players on their team. This prevents players from coordinating charges and can even cause a lot more trouble.
Yeah.
Which is just brilliant. Because I think that's actually a fair point, because this actually balances up what you might call stacked cards, where it's sort of 2v1, 3v1, because you've actually got a chance that the other team is going to have problems communicating because they can't just discuss everything with each other.
Yeah, which I think that's a really, really good mechanic, because you can talk to your opponent, but you can't talk to your teammate.
And they've also got Divine Intervention, which basically means when your army starts going to hell, something ludicrous happens.
Anybody that's played Apocalypse from 40k from 7th edition will know what this is about.
Yeah, I never actually did. Basically what you do is when you meet a criteria of it's all gone to hell, you take what you would call in 40k a leadership test. Roll 2d6 and try and get under your bravery. If you do, crazy things happen. And I mean crazy things. So, for order, if half your army has been killed, then you can just smack basically 3 enemy units that combined have less than 30 wounds. So just do 2d6 mortal wounds, maybe, if you want. Yep. All armies immediately heal for d3, and you re-roll saves until your next hero phase.
Yep.
And you don't run. That's a common one. Nobody runs. Chaos is actually the most interesting one because they get their ability if they kill half of the enemy. So theirs is actual a pile-on effect as opposed to a savior effect.
Yeah, it's a bit of a runaway, isn't it?
So you'll get +1 to damage. Yeah, damage. Not wounds, not hits, damage. Jesus, that's powerful. Just like, all melee weapons get +1 damage. And I mean, in 40k that's bad, but in AOS where the wounds spill over, it's just, oh dear God.
Yeah, damage to, like, blood reavers or something. Or
yeah, or even, I don't know, actually no, it scales up badly, but if you've got a big army, that's just, ow.
Yeah.
Ow.
Very good.
And you also get re-rolling, casting, and unbinding rolls for your sorcerers, which is nice. For destruction, it's kind of a pylon, but it's kind of not. So get half your army at the time into melee, and then you get +1 attack for everybody until your next hero phase, and you get re-roll charges for everybody who's not already there.
Yeah.
Which is probably all right, but if you're already half in melee, getting I shouldn't say that. +1 attack is pretty powerful, but it's not quite +1 damage.
So it's the death one that I think is the most horrific of all.
Yes. If at least one of your generals in your coalition, not all of them, just one, is dead, roll a d6 for each death general. On a 2-up, he's back at full health. Anywhere you like. Just... no! Do one. Just pop up Nagash, or...
I finally killed Nagash. Oh, wait, no, I haven't.
On a 2+. 2+. And you've also got that each unit gets... each destroyed unit comes back on a 5-up as well. Yeah. So if you weren't already screwed by the return of a general, have a third of your opponent's dead units back.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
It actually facilitates that you have a good, what we call the warlord, the seigneur de guerre, because only their general takes the test. So they have to, actually, do they still need to have their general? I think they do. It doesn't say, actually. I can't see if you require your general to be on the board for it to happen.
I don't think you do.
No, it says verify the Grand Alliance to which your general belongs, as well as the required conditions. If they are met, roll 2d6. If it's inferior or equal to your bravery of your general. No, it doesn't seem like you need your general on the board.
No, which is cool.
Which means that you can actually pick a really high bravery guy, whoever it is, and just throw them in and get them killed, because it doesn't... Well, at least in this instance, it doesn't matter. I'm sure there are other reasons why you would never ever do that, like the Hour of Glory effect, but it's just interesting that you don't have to have a general on the board to call for divine intervention. Just cause.
I think it implies you do.
But it doesn't state it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It's an awkward one. I guess that's just something you've got to call with your opponent, because if you're playing this kind of game, it'll probably be, oh no, you can do that if you're dead for this reason, or you can do it if he's not dead for this reason. You can figure out some sort of narrative reason, one way or the other, that you could do that. Yes,
absolutely. And if you are the overall leader of your alliance, then you also get a bonus ability. It's not a command ability, it's sort of a one-use only activate, which is pretty powerful in a few cases. So how about +1 to wound for everybody within 24 inches in the combat phase? Or how about triple attacks on all your weapons? If you're Scarbrand, this is terrifying. Or how about -2 to wound rolls for attacks against your general, who also gets a 2+ save? If you're Nagash or you're Archaon and you really want to dick your opponent over, there you go. There's some pretty powerful effects in there.
Yeah, this is, again, something that came out of the Apocalypse book from 40k. So whenever you could call a fine star for one of your warlords, and the general, the table is almost exactly the same, actually, in terms of names. So things like Unkillable, you'd have Toughness 10, a 2-up invulnerable save for that turn.
Right.
So they're very, very similar, but that's a mechanic that I love from Apocalypse, and it's really good to have it in games that you could actually use it in.
And it would be interesting to see if it comes back in Chapter Approved, just while we're on that. We've also got six battle plans, including one where one of your alliance turns on you, which is hilarious. And then finally, Triumph and Treachery. I don't know quite how much has changed from old school, but basically you get victory points for doing stuff, and you can bribe your opponent with them.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be tricky to play unless you've bought the Warlord edition of the General's Handbook. So if you spend a bit of extra money, you got a deck of cards which have all of the treacherous acts on, so it makes it a whole much easier to play the game.
Because it's not a stupidly long list, but it's a list.
It's a list you've got to open your book each time. You can't kind of just like passing a card to somebody as a trade or something is a bit more fun, I think.
And the secret objectives as well, if you want to do that.
Yes.
Having that just on a card face down as opposed to within your book would be pretty nice. And we get, how many do we get for that? Another 6. Which is pretty nice. And you can also get Triumph and Treachery campaigns if you really, really want to see some nonsense unfold. Actually, that in combination with Firestorm and the new campaign box could be brilliant.
Yeah. Good fun.
Definitely good fun. And that's actually the entire book. Obviously, we've glazed over a lot of the stuff, particularly in matched play, about all the new rules, and you'll have to look at them for yourself. But yeah, this is about as indispensable a book as you'll ever see. I really do think that.
Absolutely. I think if they're going to be releasing these every year, they're still worth buying every year because they'll just accrue battle plans and information. They're just really, really good.
Agreed. Did the matched battle plans actually change, or are they the same?
They have changed very much, actually.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Just because like some of the ones in open play had some of the names of the old ones from match players, I was a little yeah, they've definitely changed.
But okay, so I say very much. Most of them are similar to old ones, but they have like significant changes. For example, Battle for the Pass is the same as the old Border War, but it's turned on its side, so you play lengthways rather than widthways.
Yeah.
Duality of Death is another one. It's very similar to the old 3 places of power, except there are now 2 places of power.
Quite.
There are a few other things about it, but that's essentially a difference.
Yeah, the one not complaint, the one surprise that I always had with the objectives in Age of Sigmar is the fact that they stack the way they do. So you can score a huge amount of points early in the game by just face rushing. There was one mission, and I forget which one it was. It might have been Border War, actually.
Yeah, it was Border War.
You could just literally zerg the middle of the board and then win, because your opponent just couldn't shift you.
Yeah, so with Border War, you could potentially score 9 points turn 1, then it's really difficult to get back. With these new missions, there's an increase of the number of battle plans where the number of points you score that turn equals the turn number.
So it stops going out of control, but it means that if you do zerg the board, you can build a bit of a lead, but it won't be enough.
It means if you hold 5 objectives on turn 1, you score 5 points. But if you only hold 1 objective on turn 5, you score 5 points. So it really mitigates that turn 1 initial rush the objective and win.
Because the only way that you'll do that. With the
exception of the Scorched Earth battle plan, which I think is a bit of an odd one, because it's the first time I think Games Workshop have introduced battle plans where you have objective destruction. So you can take off your opponent if you hold your opponent's objective in their one of the 3 in their table half. You can gain D3 victory points but remove the objective from play. I've seen armies that will rush that for turn 1, claim all 3 turn 1, get rid of them for D3 victory points apiece, and then the opponent pretty much can't catch up.
Yeah, I can see the problem with that. Ouch. But that will be something that I'm sure will come out in the wash, and if it is just too ludicrous, then it will not be in the 2018 handbook, which is a good thing, because the fact that they're doing this rolling balance pass means that if something is broken or just ridiculous, then it can be patched. And that, I think, is something that went a little bit under the radar. Is the fact that, yeah, the General's Handbook's great, but it's going to get better and better and better, and the game is going to get more and more refined without having to overhaul the rules a la every edition of 40k and fantasy there's ever been.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the General's Handbook, ladies and gentlemen. It's a really worthwhile pickup if you haven't got it already. If you're an AOS player, whether you're a casual, a newbie, a veteran, whether you play for narrative, whether you play for kicking ass in tournaments, just there's something for everybody, and it is very worthwhile, even if you're not someone who's probably going to play very much. It's well worth getting.
Totally agree. Really good book.
Are there any other remarks about AOS generally? How you think the game, how the game's evolved with the new handbook, or any other remarks that someone who's been much more in the trenches has to add outside of the theoreticals we've discussed?
So, I thought, from what I've seen so far, the game hasn't actually changed. The core of the game hasn't really changed that much, and if you look at the competitive side of things, it hasn't really changed that much either. There are some differences. Some of the armies are going to make a resurgence, but generally I think that it's really helped solve a couple of the problems that we've seen before in armies. But I'm looking forward to seeing what other problems kind of crop up, because I love that kind of side of the hobby, seeing what people do with their armies to try and win.
The one concern I have going forward is that there is now even less of an incentive to use some elements of your old collection, which is concerning, and they really need to pick up the release rate. And I'm also curious as to whether these new allegiance abilities for the old armies means that they're either due for an immediate patch or are never going to be patched again.
I would have guessed the latter. Actually, no, I'd guess somewhere in between. I think that now they've got these patches, they're less likely to get a significant update in the future. One of the things to note is, however, with some of these things, so they've updated Fire Slayers, Iron Jaws, Seraphon. They've already got their own battle tome. They're just kind of filling in the bits they didn't have.
Yeah.
But things like Wanderers and Skaven Scryer, they've now got battle traits and command traits and artifacts. I could never imagine that an allegiance that's as small as Scryer would get a full battle tome.
No.
Because there's just nothing really there to expand on.
But then
if they did never get one, I wouldn't be entirely surprised nor particularly upset.
On the other hand, you have armies like Dispossessed, who are a full, chunky dwarven army.
Right, but I think, like what you said, I think they're trying to probably iron out some of the older allegiances, like, classic High Elves, Dispossessed.
Stuff.
I think they're trying to iron it out a bit more than it was, and introduce more of the newer allegiances, like they're going to get rid of Dispossessed and have Fire Slayers and Caradron Overlords and things like that.
That's quite possible, and it's going to be interesting going forward to see how the release schedule evolves and what new armies we get, whether old armies get updated. I think that's probably interesting. So, what was the last release? It was... Oh, no. It was Caradron.
Blaze Core? No, Caradron Overlords.
Yeah, it was Caradron. So Destruction have got 3 battle tomes, 2 Orc and Beastclaw. Order has 5, with Stormcast, Seraphon, Fire Slayers.
Now you're asking me. Jesus.
Oh, God. I'm actually running out here. Flip. Have they got 5? Yeah, Caradron, Fire Slayers, Seraphon, Sylvaneth, and Stormcast.
Sylvaneth, that's it.
Chaos is Chaos. Chaos is Chaos.
They've got Pestilence, they've got Zinch, they've got Blaze of Corn.
Nurgle has to be around the corner now with Blight War.
Yeah, Nurgle's looking likely to come up again. They've also got Everchosen, which is kind of a mini battle tome, but it's still a battle tome, I guess.
Yeah, it counts.
That's it, I think, for Chaos.
I think so. And then Death has Flesh Eater Claws.
Yes.
So yeah, more Death, please.
I really hope we see a bit more Death. They deserve some love, I think. Even though I hate Death.
Agreed. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is mine and Moarhammer 88's thoughts on the 2017 General's Handbook. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts on the handbook or on the state of AOS in general, feel free to let us know in the comments below, and who knows, maybe we'll be back in 2018 and doing this all again. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And until the next time, whenever that may be, we will see you all again. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.